From a distance, it looks like decoration, a black and white spiral, bold red bands, a field of diamonds, the kind of thing that ends up on a postcard rack in a seaside gift shop. It isn't decoration. That pattern is the lighthouse telling you its name. And for the navigator of a ship closing on the coast, reading it wrong could put the hull on the rocks. Look along any stretch of coastline and you'll notice something strange. No two lighthouses are painted the same way. So why isn't every one of them just painted the same bright, obvious color? That difference wasn't taste. It was the whole point. Start with the obvious job. At night, a lighthouse is its light. Inside the lantern room sits a Fresnel lens, an invention credited with saving 1,000,000 ships, and it bends a single lamp into a beam visible more than 20 miles out to sea. After dark, that beam is the entire reason the building exists. Then the sun rises and the beam is gone, washed out against the daylight. By day, a navigator isn't looking for a light. He's looking for the building. And a plain stone tower is almost useless for that. Gray stone, against a gray sky, over a gray sea, simply disappears. It's the same reason navies paint their warships gray, to vanish. The fix was obvious. Paint the tower a color that stands out, so a ship can find it from a distance. And for most people, that is where the explanation ends. The stripes are there to be seen. That explanation has a hole in it. If being seen were the only goal, the problem would have one answer. Paint every lighthouse the same bright color, a strong red, and every tower on every coast would stand out equally well. That is not what happened. One lighthouse is a black and white spiral. The next is wrapped in fat, horizontal bands. A third is covered in diamonds. A fourth is a single, flat color. If visibility were the whole story, all that variety would be wasted. It wasn't wasted because being seen was never the real task. Being recognized was. A tower painted plain red tells a sailor almost nothing. A tower painted in a black spiral tells him exactly which lighthouse he is looking at, and on a low, featureless coast, knowing which one can be the difference between a safe channel and a reef. There's a word for it, one that rarely leaves the world of mariners. A daymark, the lighthouse's name written in paint. Once you know to look for it, the system is everywhere along the American coast. On the outer banks of North Carolina, a long and genuinely dangerous shoreline, the lighthouses were deliberately given different daymarks so a ship could tell them apart. Cape Hatteras got the black and white spiral, the candy-striped tower most people picture when they hear the word lighthouse. To the north, Bodie Island got horizontal bands. To the south, Cape Lookout got diamonds. None of those was a style choice. They were picked the way you'd pick a set of distinct symbols, so no two could be confused at a distance or in haze. The lighthouse board put it plainly. Each light was to be marked so it could be told apart from its neighbors. Cape Lookout is worth stopping on because its daymark is the only one of its kind in the country. Diamonds, painted on in 1873, and they aren't tilted at random. Look closely and the geometry lines up with the compass. The black diamonds run roughly north to south, the white ones east to west. For generations, sailors held that you could read your heading off the tower itself, that the pattern told you not only which lighthouse, but which way you were facing it. Whether that was the original intention or a fortunate accident of the design, historians still disagree. The practical result is the same either way. The paint told a navigator exactly which light stood in front of him and which stretch of coast he had reached. And the daymark is only half of a lighthouse's identity. When the sun goes down and the lamp comes back on, the paint vanishes into the dark, and a second identifier takes over. No two lighthouses flash the same way. One gives 2 quick flashes every 10 seconds. Another, a single, long beam every 15. Some hold a steady red. Some show a white that comes and goes on a fixed count. That rhythm has a name too, the light characteristic. It is as deliberate as the paint. A navigator with a stopwatch could time the flashes the way he'd read the stripes by day. Here is what turns a paint job into a system. Every one of these, every daymark, and every flash is written down. There is an official government registry kept by the Coast Guard and called the Light List that records the look and the signal of every lighthouse on the coast. So the procedure was almost absurdly simple. Sight the tower. Note the pattern or time the flash. Open the light list, find the one structure on the entire coast that matches, and read off your position. No satellites, no instrument beyond a watch and a book. The idea was useful enough that they took it to places where no tower could stand, where the seabed was too soft or the water too deep to build. They anchored a ship instead. A lightship carried the same focused lamp at night in the same bold daytime colors, often with its own name painted in huge letters down the hull. A floating lighthouse with a daymark of its own. Almost none of this is strictly necessary now. A modern ship knows where it is to within a few meters from satellites without ever looking out the window. The painted towers and timed flashes have been quietly retired from the front line of navigation. And yet the Coast Guard still keep the light list current. The towers are still repainted, spiral and band and diamond, in the patterns they were given more than a century ago. So the next time you see one, the candy-striped lighthouse on a postcard, the diamond tower out on the dunes, it's worth knowing what you're looking at. Not decoration, not a quirk of style. The last working letters of one of the oldest navigation systems ever built, still legible to anyone who knows how to read them.